Paige's Urban listeners, Chris and Paige, married at first sight. Let's watch.
Where I'm frustrated in all of this is like, how are we truly saying that I am open to seeing things through, committing to this process, if we're automatically ready to shut the door on the other person?
So I totally understand where Paige is coming from, I think. If I understand the circumstances correctly, what's happening is that they committed to starting over, which implies they're going to try to make things work in their marriage. And they started dating, essentially. And she has been saying, you haven't been calling me back. And then he counter-accused and said, well, you haven't been calling me back, or something like that. And then Paige is getting this vibe of lack of motivation, lack of commitment. I think because he either is ambivalent or completely not into her. He has said multiple times, the same frustration that I had with Mindy and Zach at season 10 is happening here. We have a guy who has consistently said, and multiple actions, saying he does not want to be with Paige. So it doesn't, but he won't say it out loud, or he's being pressured into not saying it, or he's being pressured into trying it anyway, or who knows. But that's my impression. I don't know. So because this conversation is really silly when you can think about when people actually do fall in love and they want to be in a relationship with someone. Like when you first start dating someone and you're in love and you want to be with them, there's no question as to getting back to that person, because that's all you want to do. As soon as you get a text from that person, you get a call from that person, you get to hang out with that person. That's like, you're excited. That's all you want to do because you're in love. That's usually what happens. So the fact that they're even having this kind of conversation is a bit troublesome to me, worrisome to me. But the one observation I want to say is that Paige has used this language that she does sometimes, which I think indicates a fair amount of relational traumas that resulted in her suppressing who she is and suppressing her needs. She said it in a very, she said it in a passive way. I'm going to rewind it, but essentially, instead of saying, I don't like what you're doing, you are, Chris, you are doing this and I don't like it, which would be a direct statement. She's saying it in a passive, roundabout way, which indicates, for sometimes an hypothesis that I would have, is that when she was young, she couldn't speak directly because she was either not listened to or something bad happened to her repeatedly. But let's rewind and listen to the way she phrased it, because this isn't the only time she's done this. She's done this in other conversations too.
All of this is like, how are we truly saying that I am open to seeing things through, committing to this process, if we're automatically ready to shut the door on the other person?
So you hear that, how are we saying da 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 da? And it's direct-ish. It's more direct than other things she says, but a more direct thing. And that's such an odd way of putting it, right? How are we? You're talking about him. Are we talking about we? Yeah, you're talking about him. So the real question I think she wants to say is, how are you saying this? I don't understand why you are saying that. But for whatever reason, she doesn't feel safe to say that, or she's trying to be overly polite or something.
On a sheet of paper to say that we are legally bound to each other, I at least expect that kind of respect to see this process through.
What process? This
process that we signed up for, Chris.
This is real life. We're married.
Right, and this is what I'm saying. But we have to show up to go through things.
That's why I'm still here.
So I totally understand why Paige is saying this. I think a more direct thing that she could say is, will you please love me? Essentially, that's what she's asking. Will you please love me? Will you please be my husband? Will you please be the man that I want to be with? That's essentially what she's asking, which is fine. She wants that. But she is saying it in an indirect way of saying, you need to see through the process. And he has kind of a point. He's like, what process? This is real life. And I think what Chris is essentially saying through his body language and through his actual language, he is not into this relationship. This is frustrating for me to watch because I think that's what's happening. If that's not what's happening, then Chris gives off extremely weird vibes, extremely inconsistent vibes, because to me, my take is he doesn't want to be with her. And they are forced to have these conversations, meanwhile prolonging the inevitable for Paige. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what happens with them. I haven't read ahead. Maybe they get married and live happily ever after.
Because you're reaching out to me.
Like, there's no connection. Like, I don't have a connection with you.
Right. He's been saying this in a lot of different ways through his behavior and his words. I think what he should say is, I don't feel connected to you. I don't want to be with you. I'm not feeling it with you. I'm sorry. I haven't felt it with you from the beginning. And I should never have come on this reality TV show, because I don't know what I was thinking, that these so-called experts would be able to match me up with my soulmate. I mean, how did I think a blind date would work out that way? So, yeah, I think it's unfortunate, and it sucks for the two of them. It particularly sucks for Paige, but if I was Paige and I heard that, I'd say, okay, then we're done.
And if I feel like this is not it, it's fine. I think that we are at a dead end.
Yeah, I feel bad for Paige. I feel bad for both of them, honestly, particularly for Paige. If she's for real, which I think she is, then the back and forth that she's experienced with him it's rough. And so many times I've thought, okay, that's the end of the road for Paige. She'll certainly pull the plug at this point. Let's see what she does.
I know it's just been so tough. Mm-hmm. But what I do want you to know is that I thought that you guys were going to be a great couple. We all did. And we thought we had somebody who would be the right partner.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. They, I think, seem to want to put people together who are going to work together. Who knows, but it seems that that's likely. And yeah, but as the science shows, no one knows how to do that. No one knows how to match people up successfully such that they have a pretty good likelihood of being attracted to each other and staying married for the long term. So it shouldn't be a surprise to any of these experts, given the science, that they make mistakes sometimes. I find that this show, the experts will be astounded that they made a mistake, but they often don't admit that they made a mistake. They will blame it on someone they'll say, we were tricked by something or something along those lines. What I would love is if the experts would say, you know what, that's on us. We made a mistake. We gave it our best shot, but you win some, you lose some, and we're sorry. That's on us. We shouldn't have matched you up with him. Let's see if she says that.
What a mess of a life he had behind the curtain.
It was a lot for me. I just would have never expected to feel the way I felt these past couple of weeks. Questioning, like, well, why me? Like, what did I do wrong that led to this point?
And that's heartbreaking. And that's consistent with what we've seen before with Paige, that she blames herself, that she feels it's her responsibility to somehow carry the weight of the marriage, that she believes that maybe she isn't good enough or something. And that's heartbreaking, because I don't think anyone watching this thinks that Paige made a mistake or that Paige isn't a good potential partner. So the fact that she even once but ongoing questioned herself in that is heartbreaking.
I want you to know that you're the superior human being. If he wasn't such an extraordinary narcissist.
What? The superior human being? Wow. Pepper Schwartz is a professor of sociology, I believe. And so her words carry weight. But she is saying that Paige is a superior human being in general. and Chris is inferior. Now, the general public, the layperson, sure, but a professional? And then she, of course, used the word narcissist. And I know a lot of people or I'm guessing a lot of people have been wondering if, or labeling Chris with that word. That word gets thrown around a lot. And I've been looking for signs, and I didn't see a lot of signs. I saw signs in the beginning, but they were just kind of minor. And there's not enough data. Now, maybe Pepper Swartz has more data. She probably does. But and I've said this before, but if you haven't heard me say it, for me to diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder, I need a good 25 weeks with them, at least 5-10 sessions with them, where they come into my office and we talk about things, we talk about their life, and I ask a lot of questions, and I spend, some time trying to assess their personality, and they are willing to be honest with me. They're willing to tell me their experience. And I will diagnose people with narcissistic personality disorder at that time. But just watching someone's behavior, you cannot tell. You can't tell about any personality disorder from just watching someone's behavior. Now, she didn't say narcissistic personality disorder. She said a narcissist. And that is sometimes it's mistaken for a clinical term, sometimes not. I don't know what context she's using it in. But if she's using it in the non-clinical term, then that's fine. You're just calling someone self-centered. That's not a clinical term. You're just saying it's an adjective that you're just applying to someone. But to diagnose someone, which she isn't doing, is a different matter. But I wouldn't characterize him as a quote-unquote narcissist. I would characterize him as someone who struggles with, I don't know, I'd have to know what was going on with him, but he comes across as self-centered for sure. And I'm pretty sure anyone watching would see him that way. He doesn't seem to reach out to Paige. He doesn't seem to really care about her. The way he acts sometimes, he just seems completely in his own world. And I think matching that up with the fact that he hasn't been into her from the day he met her, from the minute he saw her, he knew she wasn't the one for him. So you match that up, then you get a more exaggerated form of that self-centeredness, because I think from the beginning he's just like, I don't want to be with her.
I'm not going to mince words on my opinion. He would recognize that, and I don't want you to take that garbage. And so many women, particularly under these kind of circumstances, take it on themselves that somehow they weren't something enough.
Right, good. That's what I was saying earlier. And it's true that women are socialized to please. It's not, not all women are like that, of course, but girls are generally socialized to please, to not think about themselves, to try to get, if they're heterosexual, get the man to be happy and not think about their own happiness, to sacrifice. There's a long tradition of women and mothers sacrificing themselves, sacrificing their needs for other people, which is unfair, 100%. And Pepper Swartz is pointing that out, and I wonder if, and it sounds like she is agreeing with that. So, yeah. And it's consistent with my observations of Paige in general, in that she seems to push aside or subdue or submerge her own needs in preference for Chris's.
I don't think Chris thinks about anybody but himself. If he wasn't such a narcissist, he would understand that he had to be straight and consistent with you from then on. I mean, it's not only a marriage, it's a public situation. Why did he do it? I think it's a great question.
Okay, so I can get behind that statement, I guess. I think I'd word it differently. But yeah, if we replace narcissist with self-centered and not empathetic or caring towards other people, then that's seemingly true. That from the beginning of him learning about his other relationship and the child, if he wasn't as self-centered, he would have been more consistent or more caring to Paige, as he had some vacillation in his motivations. Instead, what we saw was he would come back and forth. He would throw little bits of information. Paige would grab onto that. He would back off. And instead of thinking, what am I doing to Paige right now? What's best for her as I move forward? Should I be doing this? Because if I do this, given my confusion, I'm confused and I don't know what to do. But it didn't seem as though he was thinking about Paige's well-being as he was confused.
Lady, and she told me, just want to let you know, Chris and I are not, planning on getting back together.
I know Chris has alluded to the fact that we may be trying to work things out. And I wanted to make it very clear, me and him working it out, that's not my intentions right now at all.
They did not show that clip during that. And I remember hearing Paige say something along those lines. She's like, yeah, I don't think they're going to be together. And I was like, where did you get that? Did I just miss that statement or something? But anyway, yeah. So that's interesting, right? But Chris has also said, I didn't react to it while he was talking with someone else, that, Mercedes, that's her name, Mercedes or not, he doesn't want to be with Paige. He has said that. Regardless of what's going on with me and Mercedes, I do not want to be with Paige. So
she's willingly accepting these things. And I just don't understand that when you told me that you wanted to give it another try. It was like, well, what's the purpose of that? Like, why do you need to share that with me?
Purpose was to hurt you.
Right.
There's no other purpose possible.
Yikes. There's no other purpose possible other than he's a malicious psychopath trying to hurt Paige. That's his mission in life, is to hurt Paige. Yikes. People almost never are motivated by that. Some people are. A very small percentage of human beings do suffer from psychopathy and sadism and actually do get off or don't care enough about other people's feelings where they will purposely hurt other people. But very few people are like that. Very, very few. And there's no reason to believe that Chris is one of those individuals. He could be, but there's no indication of it. There wouldn't be an indication because they don't really interview these people in depth on the show anyway. But she's essentially accusing Chris of being a psychopath, that he was on a mission, he was Machiavellian, he was making a plan, like, I'm going to hurt Paige. When I think a more likely conceptualization is that he was confused and self-centered and wasn't thinking about Paige. It was, I'm just surprised that the show doesn't emphasize just how confusing it must have been for someone like Chris. And I've said this before. He goes on the show, I think with good intentions. He meets someone, he's not really that into her, which happens, okay? And you can't fault Chris for that. You could fault the way he communicated about it, but that happens. It happens on the show. It happens all the time on the show when someone will say, I'm not into this person and I don't think I'm ever going to be into this person. Okay, so no harm there, right? We can't yell and hate Chris just because he wasn't attracted to someone that these experts, put him on a blind date with. So there's that. You could fault him for the way he communicated it. Then a few days into the honeymoon, he finds out that his ex is having his baby. And that is a massively confusing situation. What do you do there? Do you stay married to someone that you're maybe building a relationship with, but you're not into very much? Or do you try to get back together? Or do you choose door number 3 and you're with neither person? And the fact that they would characterize this as Chris purposely trying to torture Paige, I don't know. It just doesn't resonate with me. I'll just put it that way.
Just keep this idea of where your boundaries are.
Right.
And how you deserve to be treated. And if you're not treated with respect and admiration and kindness, then don't accept it. Even if somebody's a good person and they sort of make a misstep, then let's correct it right then.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad advice. And I want to be clear. I wonder, does everyone hate Chris? I have a feeling, the show seems to really hate him. The experts seem to hate him, the way they edit it. So I'm wondering if we're supposed to hate him. Is he kind of a jerk face? Yeah, he is. Has he committed some jerk face behaviors? Absolutely. But compared to other people that I've watched before, it's definitely not on the upper end of the spectrum. I mean, y'all have asked me to watch other people where I've just been, whoa. So, he's definitely way below certain thresholds that we've seen other people cross. And I don't know. I'm also trying to figure out why everyone wanted me to watch this couple, because I have to say there's not a lot to grab onto as a viewer, as a therapist, because he doesn't like her. And so there's not those moments where they have conflict where they're trying to actually love each other, because from the beginning he said, I'm not into her. So I think I'm also a little frustrated myself trying to grab onto something that it just isn't there, because normally what I'm trying to react to are people who are trying to make things work and they're miscommunicating or they're triggering each other and they want to be in a relationship with each other. When one person doesn't want to be in the relationship and the other person is chasing, I'm just like, just let him go. Like, let him go. He doesn't want to be with her. It's probably best for everyone if they just never talk again. And Paige was ready to do that. And then they started talking again, and that was sputtering. So this whole thing, I think, is just dragging out the inevitable. But who knows? As I've been saying from the beginning, maybe they get married and they stay happily ever after. But it just seems completely unlikely to me at this point. But maybe I'll be surprised. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.